Good morning, everyone. So today, wanted to walk through what Zero Hash does and kind of give an overlay of how we view the space. We've been building in the stablecoin space since 2017 when we founded the company. So we've kind of seen where we have come from and kind of want to give a sense of where we believe that we're going and how Zero Hash is positioned around that. So I think the principle that we all believe in is that money is being reimagined. It's instant, it's secure, it's global. That's what effectively stablecoins do on blockchains. We like to view this as a technological revolution, and we like to draw the analogy of the mobile phone revolution. And we believe that these building blocks really dictate and show where companies play in this space, but also where the opportunities exist. And so effectively, the layers that we view in this ecosystem are, for example, the blockchains at the bottom. So that could be, for example, Base, Ethereum, Solana. Then there's assets built on top. So that could include, for example, RLUSD, USDT, USDC, and many more. And effectively, where Zero Hash has historically played is on this infrastructure abstraction layer. So making it really, really easy for people to accept and use this technology. And many, many applications have been built on our infrastructure. So these are the four, effectively, the layers that we see in this ecosystem. And I think you can put pretty much any company in the space on this block. And more companies are playing in multiple areas. So if you think about, for example, Coinbase in this ecosystem, they started at the application layer, and then they've moved down to the cryptographic blockchain layer with their base chain. Where they've actively avoided is, for example, launching their own stablecoin. That's where Circle plays on the assets side. So Zero Hash has been building, again, for close to 8 years in the stablecoin ecosystem. And we've developed a number of products that I'm going to kind of give a walk through today. The first is pay-ins. We also have payouts. We have account funding. We have on and off ramps. We have remittances. And we have tokenization payment rails. So I'm going to give an overview of each of these and show how stablecoins are being deployed today. These are not hypothetical conversations. These are real applications of stablecoins in operation today, moving billions and billions of dollars every single month. Zero Hash is trusted by the leading enterprises across these different use cases. So if any of you are familiar with, for example, Kalshi, it's a 24/7 trading events marketplace. Stablecoins unlock the ability to fund your account at the weekend, at the evening. You have remittances. We power some of the leading players, including groups like Felix Pago. In the payment space, we work and power groups like Stripe, Shift4, Bermuda Air, and Nuvei. On the tokenization side, Zero Hash in Q1 has been responsible for over 40% of all inflows into tokenized funds have flown through Zero Hash's payment rails. So that includes BlackRock's Biddle Fund. We're going to have a product showcase later today with Maxwell from BlackRock. Also Franklin Templeton for their Benji token, and Republic for a bunch of different partners that they work with, including Hamilton Lane's fund as well. We are also the partner to many, many different on-ramps across the United States and globally, and also a number of trading solutions as well. So groups like Interactive Brokers, Tasty Trade, and a number of neobanks as well. So these are the largest neobanks and brokerage firms in the United States and beyond, all of whom are leveraging Zero Hash's infrastructure. So in terms of our payment thesis around stablecoins, we have three key theses that I'll walk through. The first is that stablecoins and crypto are going to fundamentally change the way that we think about payments. Secondly, that there will be ever more stables across ever more chains. If you think about what stablecoins looked like 2 years ago, there were really two dominant players, USDC and USDT. That is now becoming a more fragmented space, and I believe that the Genius Act is going to bring more and more stablecoin issuers into the United States and beyond. And if you think concurrently at the stablecoin building blocks, which are the blockchains, there are increasingly more chains on which people are launching and issuing stablecoins on. So one example of that would be Circle's USDC. 2-3 years ago, there were maybe 3 or 4 chains on which USDC was available. There's now roughly 20, and that doesn't even account for the bridged versions of USDC as well. So just 20 chains on which USDC is natively issued. And we'll talk more about what that means from a customer experience, from a usability perspective. And then thirdly, we believe that there's going to be ever more fragmentation of stablecoins. And this is really, really important as you think about the role that Zero Hash plays. This is only becoming a more complex ecosystem and space. So I think it's really important to just ground ourselves in where we are today. When you think about what stablecoins are used for, it's reshaping what we believe is money in motion, what some people call alternative payment methods. So you can see here, roughly $30 billion per month is used for cross-border payments with stablecoins. And stablecoin total process volume has now exceeded that of Visa. I think the fundamental shift, having been in this space for close to 8 years, is fundamentally the accessibility of this technology. And that's why we like the example of the mobile phone. As 3G became predominant, the App Store was possible, right? Without 3G, the App Store wasn't possible. So now that we have this distributed technology, most people in New York will have access to a stablecoin through a primary account, whether that be through PayPal or Venmo or Robinhood, and eventually, we believe, every bank. That opens up the accessibility for stablecoins to be used as more of part of our daily lives. So if you think about what's fundamentally shifted in the last 24 months, these logos on here, Revolut, Nubank, Robinhood, PayPal, Stripe, Venmo, and we work with a number of these partners, have accessed and offered stablecoins. And this is really, really powerful because most of us will have a balance, for example, at Venmo or PayPal. So that makes it very easy for us to convert into a stablecoin and, for example, fund my brokerage account at Interactive Brokers, fund my trading account at Kalshi, and other use cases that we see. And of course, the other big shift over the last few years has been regulatory clarity, not just in the United States, but globally as well. And Zero Hash has entities across the world, including the United States and the EU as well. So that's what's shifted. This technology is now accessible, and there's been a very clear step function in terms of accessibility to stablecoins. And that is what I think has been the major unlock for stablecoins. As you think about what Zero Hash does, if you look at this slide, I think in a year's time, 2 years' time, there's going to be many, many, many more permutations. And so what our API abstraction layer does in the stablecoin space is we abstract away the complexity around these chains and assets. Our customers don't need to think about network fees. They don't need to think about on-chain transaction monitoring. They don't need to think about these kind of constructs. It allows our partners to think more in terms of account-to-account movements. And that's the true unlock of this space. When a customer has to think about 2 or 3 questions, what chain do you want? What asset do you want? How do I copy and paste this address? That is a friction that certainly can be overcome if the payout is large enough. But if we want to use this in every single day applications, we need to solve these complexities. And that's what our API does. It abstracts away these regulatory and technical complexities. So if you see here, Zero Hash effectively supports every single stablecoin across every single chain on which they're issued. So we make the building blocks to access stablecoin a one-stop shop. And again, this page is going to get longer and wider over the next 12, 24, 36 months. And that's what's really, really important as we think about the infrastructure that Zero Hash unlocks. It's really bearing this in mind. So if we just play this out, what Zero Hash actually does, if you send USDC, and send USDC can be productified in a number of ways. That could include, for example, payouts or fund out or on-ramps. Zero Hash abstracts away all the steps that you see here in green. Our partners simply connect to one API. And same thing on accepting USDC. And these are the sort of use cases that we'll talk more about, off-ramping with stables, funding out with stables. These are the sort of unlocks that Zero Hash provides. And we provide that seamless native experience. And we've been doing this for 7+ years. We're globally regulated, and we think that's a really important part. This is a global network. That is what stablecoins help unlock. And so the building blocks, the regulatory building blocks, must go in tow. And Zero Hash has been really proud not only to be regulated in effectively every single state in the United States. You know, we've had a bit license here in New York since 2019, but also a global view on this landscape. That includes places like Brazil, Argentina, New Zealand. And just this week, actually, we announced that we'd received our virtual assets service provider registration in Argentina as well. And so as this global network expands, we provide, again, a simple one-stop shop for global access to this global infrastructure. So with that context of many more chains, many more stablecoin assets, what does our API do tangibly? So effectively, we provide interoperability across multiple chains. We provide a relayer across multiple assets. And I provide two examples here. Everyone's excited about the Genius Act. What is it going to do? It's, again, going to drive more fragmentation. Citi will have their own stablecoin potentially. JPM will have their stablecoin. Or there may be different bank consortiums. But what we're sure about is that there's going to be this fragmentation. And so this ability to relay that, if, for example, if I'm sending a friend at Citi or at Bank of America and I'm at JP Morgan, how does that interoperability work? So this is what our C3 layer does. And then as well, our regulatory structure and APIs abstract away the complexity to be able to move from what we call stable coins, which inherently in the United States will not be yield-bearing, right, to stable instruments, which are yield-bearing instruments. And so the importance of being able to move between more of a payment instrument in a stable coin to a yield-bearing instrument in the same way that we think about our checking account as our payment source and our savings account as being our yield-bearing source, that interoperability is critical. So again, we abstract away this complexity through our C3 technology. So I'm going to make this a little bit more tangible right now. We've provided more of the philosophical view in terms of how we think about the space and where we play. And so you can kind of see here, there's an example here. We announced Bermuda Air a few weeks ago. And the unlock for a group like Bermuda Air is lower fees, wider geographical reach, faster settlement, and no chargeback risk. And we did a survey that we released last year through an independent group called Sentiment, where, for example, 52% of Argentinians said that they wish to pay for certain services with stablecoins. And we provide this for a range of different partners across the globe. You can kind of see here, you can pay with stablecoins frictionless, easily, and simply. Example here with stablecoin payouts. So this is, for example, freelancers. You can see here Bolt. You connect your account. The beauty here is that you're abstracting away the complexity. You can authenticate through Ripio. You can connect your account. You can confirm the payout. And then you can wait for your transaction to confirm within seconds. And so the power here is abstracting away the complexity of not forcing customers to think in terms of chains or assets, but allowing them to think in terms of account-to-account movements. I'm a freelancer. I'm an Uber driver. How do I get paid simply and easily within seconds without having to do all these complex pieces? And so we fundamentally believe that every two-sided marketplace will offer a stablecoin payout product. And the products that we have live in the wild include groups like Remote and Stripe and others that are unlocking the power for global freelancers to access this. And we put out data recently about the exact use cases where Zero Hash plays and the geos on which we power. Surprisingly, actually, about 15% of all payouts that we've processed across 70+ countries have actually been into the United States. And so I think what that showed to me was that these biases about where stablecoins can be used, I think, are relatively narrow. And so our stablecoin product, we believe, will be used by every content creation platform, every two-sided marketplace. You can see here, fund with stablecoins. And this is a tastytrade implementation, one of the largest brokerages in the United States. You can effectively fund from your MetaMask wallet with USDC on Canton and send that to effectively Zero Hash, which is then crediting your brokerage account. So this means that you can go from anywhere in the world and fund your brokerage account in seconds. And if you think about brokerage accounts, there's a number of drivers here. We're increasingly moving to a 24/7 environment of trading, and we're increasingly a more global marketplace. And so if you're trying to fund from Germany or different places around the world, sometimes funding your brokerage account can cost you over 100 basis points and takes 3 to 4 days to settle. If you want to fund a trade on a Saturday morning, how else will you do this? And so what this Fund with Stablecoins product does is it unlocks a whole set of use cases. So for example, Kalshi is a regulated clearinghouse in the United States. We power their stablecoin product. We power tastytrade, a regulated FINRA broker-dealer product. And then we have a number of fantasy sports products as well, where the pain point of 24/7 movement can be unlocked through stablecoins in a seamless and simple way. We also power a range of different stablecoin on and off ramps, making it really, really simple for people to access stablecoins for different use cases and applications. And so we provide the building blocks for both what I would call crypto native on-ramps, such as MoonPay, who we started working with when they were a 4-person company. They're still a customer, to PSPs that have now built their own on-ramping product, whether that be Stripe or Nuvei or Shift4. An example here is Shift4, where you're funding your Phantom account with USDC seamlessly and easily with your credit card. Zero Hash abstracts away the complexity, again, for Shift4 on both the regulatory and technical side, allowing them to focus on a quick go-to-market. And finally, is stablecoin remittances. We have a number of customers here, and the example here is Felix Pago, which is a really, really powerful unlock through stablecoins through WhatsApp. And effectively here, what is being shown is that you're going from dollars to, for example, Mexican peso within minutes, all through a WhatsApp interface. And Zero Hash handles that middle step, what sometimes people call the stablecoin sandwich. And so here you can reduce the friction, you can reduce the cost of capital of moving funds, and you can effectively move funds instantly cross-border for a large demographic across the world. And finally is tokenization payment rails. I think a lot of people are excited about tokenization, and the promise of tokenization is 24/7, 365 movement of any asset anywhere. And the payment rails need to keep up, and that's effectively what Zero Hash does. And like I mentioned, 40% of all inflows into all tokenized funds in the globe were powered through stablecoin rails that Zero Hash powers and offers. And that, I think, shows the power of stablecoins and the unlock that it provides for the tokenization use case. So again, going back to the philosophical, and again, using this framework that we like to use of blockchains, assets, infrastructure abstraction, and application. So our infrastructure abstraction layer, we believe, has helped spark this 0 to 1 of this technological adoption with all the customers that we've just outlined. So this allows customers to seamlessly build, to transfer any asset on any chain, anywhere, simply. What we're really excited about now is moving upstream to the application layer, which is effectively allowing us to move from this 1 to 100. We're still early, and we've solved the technical and compliance challenges, but what Zero Hash is now focused on concurrently is the usability challenge related to stablecoins. And there's 3 pieces of what we call Connect, which is live today: identity, auth, and move. And I'll run through these quickly. So today we're introducing Connect, and effectively our approach is connect, pay, done. Connect, payout, done. Connect, fund, done. And this is a dev kit that any firm can drop in to your application natively in under 30 minutes. So we think this is an incredibly powerful unlock on the application layer to solve the usability challenge around stables and to lower the friction for merchants across a whole set of use cases to accept stablecoins. So identity. Zero Hash has been building this space for a long time, and so we've onboarded millions and millions of customers globally. And the drive of identity is to effectively mean that shifting the paradigm from having to do identity on each individual application or each individual merchant, and bringing identity as a savable single source of application. To really make this tangible, if any of you have used ShopPay, it's an incredibly seamless experience on any merchant. This is the equivalent. So you can save your credential, you can OTP in, and you can then, once you've onboarded to Connect, you can then use that on the thousands and hopefully tens of thousands of merchants that are leveraging Connect globally. So making it really, really seamless. So the frictions are identity. The other friction is how do you change the paradigm to ensure that customers are thinking in terms of account-to-account movements as opposed to having to ask themselves the question, what chain am I moving on? What asset am I moving on? And so what Connect Auth does is it effectively allows us to bring together the global connectivity of both self-custodial and custodial models, including many of Zero Hash's partners, into an ability to effectively authenticate through Zero Hash. So as opposed to having to go and copy and paste addresses and the friction of double checking, is this the right address? Is this the right chain that I'm sending on? Which again is going to become a more complex question that customers should not have to ask themselves. You think now in terms of account-to-account movements. So for example, with Connect, once you've authenticated, you can have saved linked accounts. And then, for example, here, if you wanted to log into Robinhood, you would log into Robinhood with the same security that Robinhood has, 2FA, all these other elements. You can connect, you can see your balance, and then you can then use that across the different Move applications that we drive. So Auth and identity are the core building blocks for Move. And so Move here, live integration again with Kalshi, is you can have a subset of funding methods, and you can fund with Connect. And so again, you want to fund with a new deposit, you open up an account, you've already linked your Phantom and Coinbase addresses, but here you want to fund with PYUSD from PayPal. So again, you would authenticate through PayPal, you would select the address, you would authenticate, and you would deposit. The beauty of this is that the customer is not thinking in terms of chains, and they're not thinking in terms of assets. It's this abstraction layer and application layers combined together to create a really powerful user experience. Again, payouts. If you're a seller on eBay and you're in Argentina and you want to be paid out instantly and seamlessly, you can Connect. So you can do a new payout. You can select the destination. You can connect a new account with Ripio, and you can move those funds and be paid out seamlessly anywhere in the world. Again, without having this UX friction of chains and assets. This is incredibly powerful technology, but we have to make it simple. And that's what Connect does for these merchants. They don't need to think in terms of compliance elements. They don't need to think of technological elements. And equally, we're not making the customer think of these aspects. And then finally is pay. So you can connect, you can pay from any asset, anywhere, anytime. You can save your account. So here, for example, if you want to pay from your Coinbase account, you can do so. And so you can fund your account and pay for a Starlink application. And this is one of the things that we're really excited about. A lot of alternative payment methods have the friction of not being able to be a recurring subscription payment method. So if I'm paying for my Starlink or I'm paying for my Netflix, very few of us actually push a payment every single month. So one of the things that we're building with Connect is also a subscription element where you can authenticate a transaction every month in order to abstract away that complexity and again, make this technology usable. So thank you very much. I'm Edward from Zero Hash. Please reach out. Thank you.